donating at pantry.wdwnt.com. All proceeds will go to the Cast Member Pantry, an organization to collect and distribute food and other necessities to cast members who have been furloughed. Stick around for more programming starting shortly. You're watching WDWNT's 65-hour broadcast to benefit the Cast Member Pantry. Please consider donating at pantry.wdwnt.com. All proceeds will go to the Cast Member Pantry, an organization to collect and distribute food and other necessities to cast members who have been furloughed. Stick around for more programming starting shortly.
WDWNT family, come on this show to compete in the battlefield of competitive Disney banner. Points are awarded for well thought out ideas, and points are deducted at the whim of me, your host. And the music's gone. It's gone. I'm back. I had music and now it's gone. We're going so good. Hi everybody, it's Patrick and it's Around the Hub, and the intro stopped. And it's back! Our panel for tonight's show. Again, these are all our wigs. It is JARRJETT, Jarrett Rue.
What's up, everyone? Hello, good evening.
Our next panelist, another fantastic wig. Please welcome Mike Graney.
Hey, everyone. Happy to be here.
And bringing that knowledge like a Mack truck, it is Courtney Bruck. Finally, last but certainly not least, this is the way. Say hello to the Mandalorian. This is Mandy Sabin.
Hi.
And I, of course, am your host, Patrick Hackett. Welcome to the now yearly edition of Around the Hub. Oh my God, it's awesome. You can't see me. I can only see you. Terrific. Thank you so much. This is part of WDWNT's 65-hour marathon to raise money for the Cast Member Pantry. Of course, this has been a year unlike any other, and we are out here raising money to make sure our cast members who truly are the Disney magic can eat this holiday season. So thank you all for your donations. We are so close to the goal right now, a couple $100. If we break the goal, I found something utterly ridiculous. I'm pasting it over to Alicia. If we break the goal, I would like to show this. It's a public domain YouTube video, so hopefully it won't get us kicked. But I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited for our wigs who donated to be here, so thank you very much for your generosity. Now I'm going to get into the spiel of the show. Alicia, you can cut it whenever you want. Maybe? All right, well, we'll just play with it in the background. Welcome to the annual charity marathon episode of Around the Hub. Around the Hub is your source for competitive Disney banter and witty repartee. The game is played by 4 of our amazing WIGS who go through 3 rounds of topics, earning points for well-thought-out ideas and losing them at the whim of me, Patrick Hackett, your host. The panelist with the most points moves on in each round, with the loser being sent plummeting into the pit of despair. The panelist with the most points at the end of the game wins their very own meet and greet, where they get 30 uninterrupted seconds to talk about whatever Disney topic they would like. You've met the panel. You know the rules. Now, let's play Around the Hub. Our first round. Oh, thank you. Applause, applause. Our first round on Around the Hub is split into 2 segments, the Rope Drop and Keys to the Kingdom. In Rope Drop, we focus on the single biggest story of the year. And in Keys to the Kingdom, we take a quick tour around the entire Disney company. Honestly, we're going to stay mostly in the parks with this one, with some hope for what may come in 2021. We're calling it the year of a million screams and a year of hopefully a million dreams. Here in the Rope Drop, we will cover the impact of the coronavirus to the Walt Disney Company, mainly focusing on the parks. Jarrett, you're up first. What has been the biggest positive takeaway from the new normal of Walt Disney World?
Well, there haven't been many. I was thinking about this, and one of the only positives I could take away is my level of appreciation. My appreciation for what Walt Disney World used to be, what it currently is, which we need to be thankful for, even though it's not what everyone really wants, and then just hopefulness for the future. It really isn't a positive takeaway, but I think a major takeaway should be that management and executives at Walt Disney need to take a remedial math course because they have no idea what either 25 or 35% is.
I'm like hitting the point button so many times, it's not going enough. Yes, 100%, a million times, yes. I've been told we have surpassed the goal, so I will see if Alicia will play that video at the end of all this. Please keep donating. We also have the auction.wdwnt.com. We are blowing away the goal, so thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who donated. And yeah, let's keep it going. Jarrett with some great points there. If you have a follow-up going forward, just raise your hand and I will make sure I take a peek at you. Sorry, I lost my script and my points. Mike, do you think any of the changes made should be made for the long haul?
Yeah, definitely. I absolutely think that of all the changes, I think the cavalcades should stay. I think especially with the parks like Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom, where they're probably never going to get parades again, especially since the pathways are so narrow, that something like even with like when Winnie the Pooh was out on the grass and Joy, and seeing the country bears up on the top veranda above the jamboree, I think that's probably the best that everybody wanted to stay, and they were kind of wondering like, why wasn't this already here? It's something that you see and you get happy. It doesn't cost anything. It really is. It's entertainment that are already working in the parks anyway, and Lord knows we need more of those as it is. It's something that just it brings smiles to everybody as they go through.
So the entertainment, we're going to talk more on that actually very soon. But entertainment is such a huge portion, and we really do need all of it that we can get in the park. Courtney, what was the thing you felt the parks missed the most over this insane year?
I have to go with the cast members. When I visited in August, I feel like you could sense kind of a general sadness in the cast. They were smiling and friendly, but there were so many fewer cast members. I feel like it affected morale a little bit, and that's totally understandable. So hopefully there's a day of rebirth someday soon where we can start seeing more cast members, and then the parks will feel more joyful. Cast members are the real magic, as we've been saying. So
100%, they absolutely are the real magic, and it's been hard seeing those final goodbyes before the parks closed. Had tears just absolutely streaming down my face. It was so tough to watch. Mandy, We talked about it a little bit here. What entertainment offering that was laid off is the absolute biggest loss?
I went with the Citizens of Hollywood. Improv is hard, and they were absolute masters of it. They added to the glitz and the glamour of the studios. They were longtime actors and actresses there. They're still listed as entertainment that's temporarily available on the website, which is painful. They had beautiful costumes, wonderful props, which also gave jobs to people in the background. They had intermittent shows, which was helpful for crowd management. They made the guests feel like stars. And unlike the orchestra, not that the orchestra is the easiest way to find a job, but it's so hard to have that on a resume and be like, I want to do that again, to find that niche. So that's why I went with the Citizens of Hollywood.
Well, where do you go if you were a citizen of Hollywood and apply those skills? It's not like Whose Line is hiring. It's not like you can walk on to another improv show. So they had a really specific set of skills, and they were out there doing amazing things. I might lean towards the Grand Floridian Orchestra, but I think you made some compelling points there. What entertainment needs to come back, Mike?
Well, we just talked about it. I think it's 100% shows, especially, beloved ones like Festival of the Lion King, Finding Nemo the Musical, even Indiana Jones. Because not only do they employ hundreds of cast members, which the whole reason why we're doing this is because so many are unemployed, but it takes in a ton of crowds. And even when you're not during a pandemic, when you have limited areas of where people can sit, like even Indiana Jones, that theater can hold thousands of people normally. If it's during the pandemic, you can fit hundreds, and you can spread people out easily. And even something small like even Laugh Floor, if you minimize it down, maybe shorten the show instead of it having 2 or 3 characters. I forget how many are in there. Maybe only have it 1 and then move it through so it's a constant flow. Then you have less lines there. It takes people out of the pathways, and it takes people out of queues for rides, so they're not running into each other. And you're seeing, Haunted Mansion queuing up at the end of Frontierland. You bring back shows, it solves multiple problems, and it brings in more things to do, and people don't feel cheated for spending full price on something that doesn't have everything there.
Mike, picking up a lot of points from what Josh and Tom were talking about on the new show, Josh versus Tom. Stay tuned for when that will be premiering. Courtney, what venues that have remained closed could stay closed forever in your mind?
This was hard to decide because, frankly, I feel like it's a controversial question and definitely a matter of opinion. But I think I would go with Cirque du Soleil. I feel like it's one of the few relics from the downtown Disney that we don't necessarily need. The new show coming looked like it might have had potential, but I believe that world destination, so there's really no need to have Vegas-style shows there. And they open up so much space to do something spectacular in that building. So,
really very interesting, because I don't know if I would think that building could be used for anything else. I remember, what else can we do over there? But you're right. I don't know if we need Vegas-style shows, especially in Disney Springs. Mandy, what's the best way to get around the parks during the pandemic?
When I read this question, it said in the parks, and I'm like, just within the parks, you'd use your feet. But probably you mean between the parks.
Yes, and
yeah. I went with the bus. It's always there. It seems, well, it should be. It's a little hard sometimes with the timing. But it's generally consistent and reliable. It's best if you have your own vehicle, but at the same time, parking can be a nightmare with that. You have congestion on the road, and public transportation is a good thing. The Skyliner is too busy, especially at peak times. And what do they have waiting when the Skyliner is too busy? They have a bus. Back when the monorail was busy in the morning, what did they have on the side for when it got too busy? A bus. So yeah, they're just more reliable. I mean, yeah, they do break down, but it's pretty easy to get another one. It's not like being stuck on a monorail beam during a thunderstorm. And with watercraft, you're very limited on your locations. I mean, between Epcot and Studios, but you can't hop on one of those to get to or from Magic Kingdom and the other parks. And also, like I mentioned earlier, with the weather, you can travel in a bus pretty much in any weather.
Yeah, you don't want to be up there in the Skyliner if a thunderstorm hits. You could be up there for a while. Courtney, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I would like to officially name hashtag Bus No Garage as the third-party candidate in 2024.
2024, it'll be Bus No Garage leading the way. I feel well stated. Jarrett, swinging back over to you. What is the best resort to stay at during the pandemic?
Well, it's almost like any time a family is going to go to Disney, it's just an extra variable because they're going to rationalize it to whatever resort they want to stay at. I was doing some thinking on it. I would have to think just it doesn't change because there's a pandemic going on. You're still going to want to stay at a resort that's offers the most. And so to tie it into pandemic with certain things being closed, I would really have to think either Caribbean Beach, Pop, or Art of Animation, just because the access to 2 parks and access to the other resorts. I know like Beach Club isn't open, but the DVC part is you can still go to Beaches and Cream. You can still go to the Yacht Club. You can go to the Boardwalk. Either Swan or Dolphin, one of them I think is open. So there's just so much. If you're a family with small children, you're obviously going to think Contemporary or now Grand Floridian because they're short walks to the Magic Kingdom. If you're a couple who's not into the parks or anything, I would think Disney Saratoga because you'd be close to Disney Springs.
How dare you?
That they have done a good job at, being proactive and keeping things clean and sanitary and all. So I really don't think a resort is going to be better than another. I mean, there's just advantages and disadvantages like always. Your deluxes are going to have more. Your values are going to have less. I mean, like always, it seems like Animal Kingdom Lodge would be the most secluded from everything, whether there's a pandemic going on or not. But I don't know. I would just think because with limitations on everything, maybe you'd want to be in the area where you could do the most. And that would probably be a Caribbean Beach. I mean, you can get to 2 parks if the weather's permitting. You're a short bus ride to Disney Springs, and it's a weird question because it's opinion based. This is totally opinion based. There's no facts to say that
the whole show is opinion based.
I know, but I was really trying to find something and some real reason, and I just kept going back to the things that I would normally look at when I was going to book a hotel, not like. I think you better here.
No, I think you got it though. I think the resorts that are going to have the amenities and some of the things that you want to stay at are going to be the ones in my mind that might be a little bit more popular during the pandemic. But I could see somebody coming out here and saying like Animal Kingdom Lodge is the best to stay at during the pandemic. You're far away from everybody else. There's good food there. You have the animals, and if you don't want to go to the parks, you have enough entertainment. But we're going to continue our 2020 review because really, sure.
Wait.
Good.
If you really wanted seclusion and you wanted to be safe, probably the safest hotel would either be Riverside or French Quarter because you would literally have the entire thing to yourself.
Well, if those were open. Yeah. Mandy, what has been the biggest surprise of the coronavirus at the Disney parks?
How fast they got the parks ready for guests. Even though they didn't have the green light, they're like, okay, we're getting the plexiglass, we're getting everything so that when we are given the permission to open those gates, we'll bring people in. And their enthusiasm about it. They are very optimistic about everything. Even with their new marketing campaign, they're saying tomorrow is just a dream away. And that could mean, well, do you want to sleep on this idea? Well, it'll happen in your sleep. You can dream about it, or literally tomorrow, if you wanted to go to Magic Kingdom, if you don't worry about like having to organize your tickets in a way, you literally could be at the park tomorrow. It's the not living in fear, and they have just embraced it. They said, okay, what are the guidelines we need to meet? Boom, boom, boom. They had it done. Who knows where they got all that plexiglass, but they got it.
Who knows where they're going to put it when this is all said and done either, because that's a lot of plexiglass. Just, Cast Connection.
Sell it at Cast Connection or the Lakewood Antique.
Jared, I'll give you a point.
It'll be
for
part
that.
of
It's well said. Oh, God. Oh, so bad. So bad. Courtney, WDWNT provided a lot of content during the first lockdown. What was the best show we put on for the fans?
Oh, man, this was hard, but I think hands down the roast of Tom Corliss. I think the laughter release was really needed, and we were lucky that Tom is such a good sport. And it was just good to see old and new faces kind of come together to rag on their boss.
It is the one thing that can bind us all together. You broke up. What did you say? It sounded like a compliment for me, which is usually worth a lot of points.
Yeah, I said Patrick did such a great job.
Yeah, you get the points. Thank you. I wish I could tell you I remember a second of that, and it's not just the massive amount I drank. It is also that I was so incredibly nervous. I've never performed anything like that before. But yeah, I think a lot of people really like the roast. Locked In was very popular. The shows we put on were really top-notch, so good job to us. Get a little compliment for ourselves. Jarrett, you got really tough question. Oh, thank you. Mike, you didn't get a second question in here. Where did you go? Oh, there it is. Jarrett, Joe Rohde will retire at the beginning of 2021. What does this mean for the future of the parks?
It is going to affect the future of the parks. It's not going to change anything as drastically as probably COVID has, where things just change automatically overnight. But there'll be a slow trend of it'll be noticed in years to come, because there are things that are being built now, whether he had input on them or not, those are being done. It's probably the next generation of attractions down the line that you're going to notice it. Because of his detail and research and culture and want everything to be perfect, that's what they're going to lose. And that's what everyone's talked about. So in a sense, some of these great attractions that Disney is capable or used to be capable of putting out, they're going to somewhat lack a little soul. And I hope the future of attractions doesn't become like the resorts, where they still look the same on the outside. The shell still looks the same, but on the inside, they've all become homogenized. And it's all, it's just, there's nothing unique. Disney will always be different because they have the budget to do it, even though they're not spending it right now. But it's just, I don't know if anyone's going to fight for stuff maybe like he did, and we'll just have to take a wait and see approach. I mean, they're going to build rides, but Pete Carney put up a tweet yesterday, and it was some like what used to be and what is now, and it was a picture of Space Mountain, and then it's a picture of the Guardians of the Galaxy boxed roller coaster. So, I mean, it's happening now. The dwindling of quality, of Imagineering, of imagination, I guess. I know that's sad, but we see it. I mean,
dwindling of quality
reports on.
Of imagination is a tough phrase on this network, because that in and of itself. Mike, you are closing us. You're making the transition from the end of 2020 into the beginning of 2021. Who is the next Joe Rohde? Not what. Is there one? Who is the hope of the suffering fan base to lead the company into the next decade?
Well, I think right now there's like 3 Imagineers left in Imagineering. I think at this point it's right now it's not just one. I think it's a collective effort, and I'm convinced. I was able to go on Rise of the Resistance recently, and Joe didn't have anything to do with that. And I was so blown away And I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I'm kind of a casual fan. And I have such confidence that Imagineering still can do it. It just ultimately comes down to, are they given the budget to be able to do it? So are you going to get, Rise of the Resistance, or are you going to get Toy Story Land? So it really comes down to who can lead. I think ultimately is Josh D'Amaro. And I think if you're able to get someone, he who must not be named, if you're able to move him out and somehow Josh D'Amaro is able to, because I think that he is so universally liked by both cast members and people that go to the parks, that you're able to get that balance that you had, maybe even from when Eisner was there, who actually loved the parks and wanted to do so many good things with the parks, that I think that he can be the next kind of leadership to be able to get everybody kind of there. Once Imagineering, everybody gives back to Imagineering, I think he can lead everybody forward.
I like how he turned JPEG into Voldemort all of a sudden. I don't know if we did that or he did it himself, but the ketchup bandit who shall not be named.
Like him too.
Yeah, does a little bit. Does have more of a pronounced nose than Voldemort, though. All right, taking a look at the scoreboard right now, we have Jared in the lead with 36, Mandy behind him with 35. Mike with 33, and Courtney at 32 in last for now, teetering dangerously on the edge of the pit of despair, but plenty of time for points in the second half of our first round. That's okay. I thought there was going to be a musical sting. This is the first time I've done this in this situation, so I'm all getting used to the bells and whistles of it all. In our second segment of our first round, we take a tour around the entire Disney company as we have the keys to the kingdom. The keys in this episode are to the world that waits after the pandemic ends. The year of hopefully a million dreams. Mike, what does the 50th anniversary look like?
Well, Patrick, right now it doesn't look good. At this point, it doesn't look like we're going to get a lot of the things that were promised to us. I think it's really all contingent on stuff that even Disney can't control, which is unfortunately COVID. I think if you're able to get entertainment like parades or fireworks, we're probably not going to have Tron or our Guardians ready by the 50th. It certainly doesn't look it. I think you're going to get a lot of merch. I think you're going to get a lot of food, cupcakes and everything else. I hope it's a whole lot more than that. At this point,
I'm so angry.
It looks like it's gonna be minor. It's gonna be probably just a little bit of shows, a little bit of parades. You're gonna get it's gonna be spread out. You're gonna get it through multiple different parks. You're gonna get some through resorts. I hope there's a little bit more resort tiered merchandise, since there are a couple of resorts that are also turning 50 along with Magic Kingdom. So I hope it's a little more like kind of broad, stretched out amongst the whole resort rather than just Magic Kingdom, because you're not going to be able to do everything that you really, really wanted to do, just because you don't know what's going to happen in October. We didn't think we were going to be here still in November the same way we were back in June. So I hope it's more, but right now it doesn't look good.
Oh, I was hoping that would be a happier answer, but you're probably right. Mandy, what should be done for the 50th? And don't say cupcakes.
No, I went, what they should do for the 50th is get a nighttime parade back at the Magic Kingdom. It's been a long time since the Main Street Electrical Parade and Spectro. Obviously, it adds to the beauty of the park. It shows that it's a full day park. You come in the morning, bright skies, there's the castle, and then at the end of the day, fireworks, parades. It's just the perfect end cap. Pretty sparkly lights. Another opportunity to tell a story. In every situation they have, whether it's a castle show or even just any type of streetmosphere, or it's a chance to tell a story. You can, I think honestly, you can do this socially distant. Looks like they've been able to do cavalcades pretty well. They may think it's a little hard when it's darker, but I still think it would be totally doable. Or they could even do like a nighttime cavalcade. doing just a few floats here and there. You don't have to have a set schedule. It's a great opportunity to bring back old characters, odd characters. You get a whole bunch at once. If you're still not doing meet and greets, it's another opportunity to see them. Also, I think there was something that Walt Disney did, that he released a new movie like every 7 years, because that's what he considered a generation, was every 7 years.
7.
And the last time, yeah. Oh, sorry. But the last time they had a parade was in 2016, and pretty soon we're going to be at 5 years, and it's just been too long. Nostalgia is key. Bring a nighttime parade back and take care of it.
Wow. Very passionate, well stated. I am impressed, Mandy. You are bringing the thunder. Jarrett, we said,
yes.
Mike, what does the 50th anniversary look like? Mandy, what should be done? Jarrett, Mike gave us kind of an idea, but what will happen for this 50th? What is going to be, the 50th?
It's going to be whatever the budget allows, and it's simple as that. Whatever the budget allows. So much stuff has been cut, and the money's got to come from somewhere. So if you don't have money to invest in doing all the things that were promised, it's just not going to magically appear. If they were to take the effort and do all the things that were promised, money would magically appear because it would be a return on their investment. But for the 50th, what's going to happen? Ratatouille's going to open. It's already been mentioned. There's going to be food. There's going to be merchandise. They'll come out with a new product line to commemorate it. And I don't know. Maybe they should open up a big barn fire and we could burn all our 220 merchandise. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. What's been reported, and whenever they feel like it, they could just come out and say, well, we're going this way on this, because we all watched that nice presentation in Epcot for a few months, especially after the event last October, and that's slowly getting dwindled down.
It seems so many years ago. It's little by little, it's gotten dwindled down. Mike, go ahead.
Well, I will say that whatever happens for the 50th, we know it's going to last 24 months. It's going to be a long time.
Well. All right, swinging it over to Courtney. What will Disneyland look like when it opens?
I think it's going to be very busy. There's a deficit of joy right now pretty much everywhere. And I only know a few people who live near Disneyland, but I can't imagine having a place like Disneyland that is kind of always a serotonin boost. Anytime you need it, you could go pretty much any day, and then to just have that gone for almost an entire year. I'm really hoping, just knowing the Disneyland culture, that because these people, I think, go to the parks every day, they kind of lose sight of the big things in Disneyland, the classics. And so I'm hoping this kind of gets us back to that. Not really semantics of what new cupcake came out or whatever, but I don't know, really acknowledging what's so wonderful about that park in the first place.
That phrase, just the void of joy. Man, that's so tough. I did want to comment about what Jarrett was saying. Maybe we could have a 2020 burning of the masks once this is all done. Just throw them all in the fire. Mandy,
I was referring.
My
wife bought a 2020 ornament. I was thinking about burning that. I'm like, why did you buy this? I don't want a reminder.
It's
of
one of the
year.
Horcrux. I have one 2020 thing. As I stand up, I can't find it though. I have a Stitch 2020
pin. Have to pay
pin.
people to take it.
Yeah, I have a Stitch 2020 pin. I figured he kind of represented the most what's happened this year. All right.
Yeah.
Mandy, do the holiday parties return for 2021?
Clay wants to say hi. Okay. Okay. Yes. at Walt Disney World, yes. They have proven with their daytime operations that the business model works. I think what's holding them back right now is staffing. Tom mentioned in one of his videos that the cavalcades stopped early in the evening, that he assumes that they just don't want to pay for that second shift to come in. Well, if you're not going to pay for that second shift, then you're not going to get your nighttime dessert parties. You're not going to have people come in early for the latest cupcake drop, whatever it is. So I think they've proven that they want to be open. They want to have all these events, and every day is a confidence boost because they're still open. They're saying they're not having any cases coming out of Disney World, and I think honestly that they may have these added parties before Disneyland opens.
That'd be interesting to see. The good way to keep crowds down is to have kind of some hard-ticketed events. Mike, how do you expect the Polynesian refurbishment to go?
I think it's actually going to go very well. I think Moana fits so perfectly in Polynesian that it's going to mesh very well. It's not like the Incredible Steakhouse where it makes no sense in contemporary. Even some of the Lion King rooms in Art of Animation, and any of the themed rooms in Art of Animations, people love them. I mean, even on one of Tom's live streams, he was going through it, and he was very, very happy with how well they did it. Now, Lion King has nothing to do with a hotel outside of anything more than just animation, but Moana fits in Polynesian, and I think that it's going to be subtle enough that it's going to match perfectly. They're not going to, be too gaudy. I think that they're also it's going to be popular enough that so many people are going to want to stay in Moana rooms that they are going to probably branch us out to other hotels. I can see coming a rolling, like Princess and the Frog at Port Orleans. That kind of meshes very well. So I can see that I think the Moana can be a kind of a little bit of a ramp up into themed rooms. I don't think you're going to get a hotel themed around one particular IP, but you're going to get wings in certain areas. And I think if Reflections ever comes back, you might get something like Pocahontas theme into that, because we saw that was a statue in the concept art. So you're going to get little pieces that are going to go along. I think the refurbishment as far as the outside of the Polynesian, where the water looks great. But I think that ultimately it's going to look well. It's going to look great. It's the Polynesian. Everybody loves it.
Well said there. Yeah, people forgot about Reflections. It might be a thing eventually. Who knows? Courtney, what else should be being refurbished during this lower crowd period to look its best for 2021 and beyond?
I hate to have such a boring infrastructure answer, but I think it would have been great if the monorail would have gotten some love during this time. Lower crowds make it easier to do long-term work. The Polynesian is partially closed already. And I think it would have been a nice surprise for guests returning in 2021 to have a whole new transportation system coming all out of this.
Amen. I mean, it's a simple answer, but you have the Polynesian station going to be closed. There is enough space that you could get something done with a monorail. If you're not buying a new one, refurbish what you have, take some more off the line, fix them up. Well said. Good job there. All right, Jarrett, we get the all clear. It's all over. You have one park to go to celebrate. Where are you going to celebrate?
I'm going to Disneyland. I live 30 minutes from Walt Disney World. I'm there all the time. I want to go back to Disneyland. I actually had a 30-year gap between visits to California. I went when I was, I want to say 9 years old. I'll say 10 or 11, I don't know. But my wife and I went this past January. It was fantastic. I was blown away. It is a different type of magic. And living here from March to July 11th, when my preview was, it seemed like the longest time in the world. I can only imagine what the poor people, what the pass holders in California are going through. Because I'm aggravated. I couldn't get I couldn't get Epcot on Friday for the new fest, and I was like, and I was at Epcot on Thursday for Thanksgiving, but I was upset. And I mean, I'm upset. Oh, I can't get Hollywood Studios today. I just can't fathom, like Courtney was saying, friends who live like in visual distance of Disneyland just sitting there, and I don't know. It's just, but Disneyland is where I would go.
That brings to a close our first round, and somebody will be headed into the pit of despair. We have a check of the scoreboard, shows Jarrett with 49. Mike in the lead with 53. Second place behind him is Mandy. That means, will it be Jarrett or will it be Courtney? Courtney coming in with 50 points. 1 point ahead. And Jarrett, that means you are headed into the pit of despair. Any last words?
Hey, it's been a pleasure. It has been a thrill of my life to be on a WDWNT show. I love you guys 3000.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
We love you, Jared.
In our second round, we'll be playing our original second round. That is hit, miss, or meh, where our contestants will tell us whether something has been a hit, a success, a miss, a failure, or a meh, somewhere in between. We'll be talking about the things that have been affected or an effect, hate those two words, of the pandemic. So, first of all, something that was definitely affected by the pandemic, minivans. Mike, hit, miss, or meh?
I thought this was a miss. You have the exact same thing in Uber and Lyft that's already accessible and available on the parks as it is. That's a fraction of the cost. I mean, you can get an Uber, and it can be an Uber XL, because a lot of the minivans, when they first came out, were Traverses. Then they moved them to Suburban. You can get an Uber XL less than the 25 flat rate to move around. It just seemed like, and then not even, that's not even mentioning the enormous amount of money that it costs to go to the airport and back. So it just seemed like a mistake.
Andy, hit, miss, meh, minivans.
Meh. I mean, they had easy availability, and depending on the number of people you had, the price wasn't too bad, and it was a major time saver. But I mean, if it was just you, it could be considered pricey. And then you also miss out on all these great other opportunities to travel on Disney property. You got the monorail, you got watercraft. Heck, you can even walk between two parks. And then you also lose out on the magic, because you're in a minivan with a cast member that will, if you ask them about, their personal opinions, and they're still going to be professional, but it's too backstage. It just I don't know. It just meh.
Took away from the magic. Yeah, you got it.
It took away from the magic.
Cool.
I think it was definitely a miss. I feel like Disney usually does a pretty good job of even keeping an illusion that magic is attainable for every guest that comes to Disney, regardless of like your economic status. And I think that the minivans were pretty classist. They weren't attainable for most families. They were overpriced. The only thing they really made sense for was taking people to Cape Canaveral and to the cruises. That's the only application where I feel like, okay, that makes sense. Like, there's not a lot of transportation options to the cruises. You're with your family. But other than that, yeah, total miss. Did we lose Patrick?
How did we lose our host?
Uh-oh.
Well, now this is officially around the pubs.
Mike, how do you feel about the NBA?
We're gonna continue doing this WIGS only.
Yeah,
NBA experience.
we can do it.
NBA experience. I loved it. I'm a huge sports fan, but I can understand that I'm the minority when it comes to Disney fans there. And I went there in February, and it was actually pretty crowded. So I consider it meh, only because it's not appealing to a lot of people. There's not a lot of people that are interested in basketball. There's not a lot of people that are able to play basketball. There's not a lot of people that, even if a parent wants to go just to have their kids play, they still have to pay to get in. And if they're not going to do anything, they're not going to be able. They're still paying full price, even if they're not going to do anything. So it's not. It doesn't appeal to everybody. It's not. It's very un-Disney where it doesn't include everybody. It's better than Disney Quest because that was never going to get updated to the point of being great all the time. But it was a mess.
Andy.
All right. I give this one a big airball. I give it a miss. I never visited, and I'm not interested in basketball, but it just kind of seemed like a Dave and Buster's in a way. It was, $34 for a day. It was open for about 13 hours a day, but most people are only spending like maybe 45 minutes or an hour in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only for international guests because they don't have a lot of things like that, I assume, in their countries, and the NBA is very big for a draw for international guests here. It just seemed a lot about the name. Sure, it's great on a rainy day, but so is Disney Quest. But it would have been neat to see a hybrid of Disney Quest and the Void, if there could have been some type of virtual reality. But it just seemed like they needed something for people who were non-shoppers to do at Disney Springs. Like, oh, you want to shop? Well, what am I going to do? Oh, there's the NBA experience. But even without our current situation, I think the doors would have closed pretty soon rather than later.
Wow. Fantastic job running the boat while I wasn't here. 1,000,000 points for everyone. I have no idea what happened.
It's fair.
Yeah, I have no idea. I saw the YouTube was still moving and everything here was frozen, so I refreshed and then I got the blue screen of death. And so I was very afraid. What were you talking about as I just came back to it?
Oh, I was just going to say that
NBA experience.
Yeah, NBA experience is meh for me. I'm not really a basketball person, so I don't feel right like having hard opinions on it, but I just feel like it was an easy brand crossover for Disney, and I don't know, they thought that they maybe didn't have to put as much effort into it because it's basketball and it's simple and easy and meh.
Yeah,
I think a big part of it was the NBA pushed this on. I think this was more the NBA saying, "Hey, I think they came to Disney more than Disney asked the NBA for it."
Very nice. They needed a place after being kicked out by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory over there, and that evil robot. I hate that robot so
You wish they
much.
could have done something with the bubble. Like the bubble was right there. Maybe, I don't know, you can FaceTime with a NBA star or something.
Yeah, use the space that you actually just built to promote your brand. All right, so I am going to just add 1,000,000 points to everyone, and we'll go from where I have the scores from there. We're going to try and wrap this up so we can get the RPG going. We're going to talk about the hit, miss, or meh, the Grand Floridian Resort. A lot of things have changed there. Actually, you know what? Skip that. I want to talk about the Poly. We're going to talk about the Poly post-pandemic. Do we expect it to be a hit, miss, or meh? Courtney, you were running the show before. Why don't you start us off?
I think it'll be a hit. Has been like Mike touched on before. I think the theming is going to work really well. Everybody loves the Polynesian for good reason because it's well themed and it's kind of exotic enough that it does take you out of the real world when you get there. Unlike a lot of Disney resorts where it might be like a period theme, but it's not. It doesn't take you to a new place necessarily. So yeah, I think it's going to be a hit, and also Ohana noodles.
Very well said. Mike, hit, miss, or meh, the refurb of the Poly.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a hit. I mean, it's 50 years old or about to be, and it's still, like Courtney just said, it's one of the favorites. It's my favorite. I've never stayed there, and it's definitely one of the favorites of most Disney fans. And it's lasted this long, and it still is. I don't think that they've done big changes like changing the resort, and it's still loved. They're changing the lobby rather. So I think it's definitely a hit.
Yeah, it's lived through a lot. Very, very well said. Close us out of the second round. Mandy, hit, miss, meh, the poly when it comes back from refurbishment.
I'm worried it might be a mess. Just looking at them taking down the spine of the hotel or the resort, and then they're not even using any of the bones. Like, it just breaks my heart to see those pictures. And it's so hard to imagine it because right now they don't have the monorail, they don't have all those options of like no hula lessons, no mermaid lessons, and no campfires, no arcades, no luau, but they still have Dole Whip, and that gives me hope. They still have the pool bar. You can still enjoy. They know what they need to keep. I just hope that they keep the literal infrastructure of the building along with the spirit, and I'm just saying the spirit of Ohana, but honestly, the soul of what keeps that place going and the musty smell that we all miss in that lobby.
No one misses the musty smell. Why do people get nostalgic for smells that could possibly kill you? There could be amoebas in that odor.
But there are amoebas.
Seriously, people who are like, I just love the smell of Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm like, you're a monster. That smells terrible. All right, that brings to a close the second round, leaving someone else headed into the pit of despair. It's not me. I get to keep going. It is my show, despite the fact that I left for a brief period of time. So the scoreboard right now is Mike, 1,063 points. Mandy, 1,064 points. Courtney, do you have more than 1,063 points? Courtney, 1,060 points, and headed out into the pit of despair. Courtney, I was a little threatened by your hosting ability, so you got to go. Thank you so much for your donation and being here. Always a pleasure.
Bye, guys. Have a good night. Good luck.
Bye, bye, bye.
In our face-off round, we are playing the original final round, which is One Little Spark, where we ask our panelists to use their imagination to imagineer an attraction for us. Today's topic is not so much a full-on attraction, but I need you to give a refurbishment of a current attraction to make it special for Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. So take a present attraction, refurbish it. You can retheme it, do whatever you want, but it is a refurb, not a new attraction. Let me get my scoreboard here. With 1,064 points, Mandy, you are in the lead. That means you have the disadvantage of going first.
Okay. We are going to refurbish Cali River Rapids.
Ooh.
Yeah, because the ride is the way it is now. This makes me angry. It's nobody wants to go on it. I mean, okay. So let's look at the bones of this. Okay, so when this ride was originally in concept, they wanted a ride to offset the African safari. They want an Asian safari, but on water. But the Imagineers were discouraged from doing this because the screams would scare the animals, and you'd be going too fast on the rapids to absorb what the animals were doing. So they went with this illegal logging and habitat destruction, which, yay, that's what we all go to Disney for. It conflicts with what Disney's bottom line. Like, Disney wants you to be a consumer. They want you to have the latest cell phone so you can make all your dining apps work, and they want you to. The conservation message is hard for the population that they have at the parks, and you can't tell people how to live. People don't want to hear that, plus that's not their job, and you don't want to feel guilty for living and being a consumer on this planet. So there needs to be a whole different concept for this. And I would like it to go back to the idea of it being like a safari by just slowing the whole thing down. Kind of make it like a lazy river speed, and you can still be in your raft, but you're going slower, and then you can appreciate these animals. You're going to have different animals here than in Africa because you're in Asia. And to tie it into the 50th is Walt really, he wanted the Jungle Cruise, and he didn't go with the Jungle Cruise having live animals because they sleep during the day. But we have found that on Kilimanjaro, people will still go on it during the day because the animals are out and doing things, and Animal Kingdom has learned how to change daytime behaviors of animals to make them more active with enrichment or whatever. So you could orchestrate this whole thing with a queue highlighting Walt's love of animals, and he did his whole nature series, and this would be like the next generation of Jungle Cruise. And
Wow.
It would bridge one of the original attractions at the Magic Kingdom in 1971 with the newest park that they have in Florida. And you could just enjoy the animals. You would have onboard audio. You wouldn't have a spieler because that would take up a seat. There's not enough space. But it would be truly enjoyable for the entire family and relaxing, educational, and we get to see more animals.
And I'm not going to get soaked, so that's a bonus
And
point
you're
for
not
me.
going to get soaked by people on a bridge trying to squirt your guns.
Monsters, that's who that is. Somebody did that to me, and I went, and I'm like, I'm going to get off this ride and find you. You're only safe as long as I'm in this raft. Mike, I honestly never thought anybody doing Cali River Rapids, a lot of points were earned there, so you're in a tough spot. What are you going to refurb for the 50th anniversary?
So I approached this one as an Imagineer currently at the Disney company. And since there's only a couple of us, I know that the only way a refurb is getting done is if it's very, very cheap. So I did one that's a little bit less expensive, but it's still necessary. And I did the People Mover. I'd say it's probably one of the favorite attractions that everybody who has been to Disney World loves that ride. Every single person, every time Tom is in the Magic Kingdom, I see a comment on the YouTube chat, go on the People Mover. And it's been closed since the park reopened in July, and they still ask for it. And not only would I just refresh, obviously, the cars, make it a little more comfortable, because those seats are not comfortable. They just aren't. But I would make the cars a little bit nicer, a little bit more comfortable. But more importantly, I would refurbish that Epcot model, because that model is, I don't think it's been touched since it was put in there. And it's falling apart. There's cars that are falling off the track. Some of the lights don't work. And I know it's not the original model that Walt physically used, showing everybody, but it's close. It's the closest we're ever going to get to that original model and the original concept. And that's the whole reason why he came to Florida, was for that, for Epcot, for that city of tomorrow. Now, that city's never going to get built, and that's the closest thing we're ever going to get to what Walt wanted. And the fact that it just sits there completely just like falling apart, and it seems that Disney just doesn't care about their history. And I think that's the perfect ride. People Mover is a perfect ride, and especially that model, perfect thing to refurbish for the 50th, commemorating the 50th, the 50 years that they've been there since Walt chose, let me go to Florida for the ability to have the amount of size. I would also even expand it out a little bit more, because now that Tron's there, have it go out around Tron.
Ooh.
You can even have it go to the Tower and Contemporary, because that still matches a Tomorrowland to the point where it at least makes a little bit of sense. It'll also take away from that walking path. It'll also take a little bit away from the monorail. I don't know how you do it, but you can do it. I would add a little bit more. And more importantly, I probably still have a job because it's a cheap refurbishment. And maybe they'd even do it because it's ripping up some other ride that's not going to get touched.
Oh, man, that was good. It was 70-73 in favor of Mandy, but Mike threw a couple extra points in there at the end. But it's still not enough. 72-73, excuse me, 1,072,000 to 1,073. Mandy, you are the victor. You have won this very special episode of Around the Hub. Mike, fantastic competition. You really popped me at the end there with it's a cheap refurbishment. But you're the Imagineer. You got to figure out how it's going to get to those other places. So, Mandy, you get 30 uninterrupted seconds of a meet and greet to talk about whatever Disney topic you would like. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Time starts now.
Okay, I didn't think this was going to happen, so I had nothing prepared, though I do have the tiebreaker question covered. But anyway, let's talk about how great WIGS are. I want to just appreciate verbally to all the people that I have seen in chat, that we do the voice call thingy before the Thursday night show. I can't tell you how supportive and wonderful and sweet and how often I think of you guys, and I'm so grateful for WDWNT as a whole. Everyone I've ever met on staff has been fantastic, but it's also the community that it has created, and I'm so grateful every day. And I just want everybody to know that. And I hope everybody has the opportunity, if they can, to be a WIG. It's affordable at a $2 option. Please join us. We are such a fun group of people, and I really appreciate all the creativity, the imagination, the backstories of people, the different ages of the people, the backgrounds. You guys are truly amazing. Thank you every day for being in Discord, being in YouTube, whatever.
You went a little over your time, but I figured I could let you go with that. That's patreon.com/WDWNT, WDWNT.patreon.com, I believe, or patreon.WDWNT.com. But what we're really here for is the cast member Pantry. First of all, congratulations to Mandy. Thank you to all of our wonderful WIGS panelists who donated to be in this game. We have exceeded our goal. So, VMix, you want to toss me over here? Maybe me? Thank you, Mandy. Good win. And thank you for the 65-hour marathon shadow. Hey, there I am. Thank you so much. So I wanted to personally thank the donations that happened during our show. So that is Austin Donnelly, Rebecca Harris. Thank you very much. Timothy Hummer. Jeffrey Sanford. Timothy and Jeffrey were the ones that pushed it over the limit. Adam Osborne, thank you as well. Now, I said I don't know who's back in the studio. I said I had a very special video to show. Can someone just shoot me a yes, no if we're ready to do that in the Marathon channel or in Slack? It is a public domain video, so I'm assuming it won't get us clipped. But just give me like 2 seconds of the video if we can. Just shoot it over there. Yes, no? Anybody here? If not, I will. No, I can't do the show weekly. I'm really sorry. We have become a much more professional network, and I am not able to produce a show up to the standards that WDWNT is at right now. Okay, Ben, you're apparently running VMix. That's nice of you. Thank you. So this is just a quick little video, like a couple seconds. I found this today while I was looking to download the the Around the Hub theme song, and then I'll get out of here and I will let you all enjoy the RPG. It's going to be amazing. Tyler does a great job. After the RPG, we have WDWNT Disnight, and then Whose Queue Is It Anyway? Then Jackbox in the early hours, depending on your location. All right, fire that bad boy up. Thanks. Just check this out. Just give it a couple seconds. It's amazing. The RPG is coming. This is the video for my theme music to the song. Just give me a few seconds. I'll tell you when to cut it. Yep. Wobble those legs, indeed. And there's a bear playing keyboard. Because why wouldn't there be a bear playing keyboard? And there's a potato on guitar. All right, we can cut that. That's all. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard and seen. Oh, that's going though. Still. There it is. Thank you for stepping in, Ben, as per always. All right, so I'm gonna get out of here. They're gonna switch the streams, and I hope everybody is ready for the season finale of the RPG. Tyler, I don't know if you can hear me, but thank you again. Pantry.WDWNT.com, auction.w.
Hi, everyone. The RPG should be getting started very soon. I don't know how I wound up being put on here, but here I am.
You're watching WDWNT's 65-hour broadcast to benefit the cast member Pantry. Please consider donating at pantry.wdwnt.com. All proceeds will go to the Cast Member Pantry, an organization to collect and distribute food and other necessities to cast members who have been